seen by themselves as not good enough, needs to be smaller, not okay. And here's what
I've got to ask this. How would you start with someone like myself or someone that is struggling with their connection with food? How would you sort of start processing that? Answers a lot of questions with why poorer people are more overweight than actually rich people.
for example, a lot of people who struggle with binge and emotional eating, they're actually doing it because they have a protector part.
Special guests, we share the flame. Through every word we claim our name.
Hey Sparklers, how we doing? So, as you know, if you've been around here before, I'm Empress Sparkle. I am a witch, clairvoyant, soul seer, and as well as Hellenic pagan. Today, I have with me is Kayla, and you are the embodied writer. I want to call you embodied writer warrior. Is that right, lovely?
Embodied Writing Warrior, yes.
Awesome, my lovely. Would you mind introducing yourself for me?
Yes. So I am a writer first and foremost. I am a food freedom and embodiment guide and a health coach gone rogue because I realized that inner work and creativity worked far better to create the transformations the health coaching world tries to create than any of the traditional approaches.
See, now I love this, and this is where I was trying to get my head around it. I have had PAs galore. Not PAs, sorry, PTs. PTs galore. I've had them. Um, and it's all about diet, all about this, all about that. And I remember one day I was eating cheese. I love cheese. I could eat it till the sun comes, it's addictive. And I found he was telling someone else not to eat cheese. But for me, spiritually, I don't know, cheese is my best friend. Maybe it's linked with yellow chakra. So for me, it's sort of like, I love this because you're sort of doing it on a scientific but my level, if that makes sense. So how do you go spiritually, sort of, not even spiritually, how do you go sort of changing people's relationship with food? I've got about 50,000 questions.
So I had to do a lot of this deep work myself personally. I started to struggle with binge eating, put on a lot of weight when I was 6 years old. And it was really a chronic struggle that I thought I had gotten to the bottom of when I got my personal training job. I was in the best shape of my life. I wasn't binge eating. And as soon as I got that job, interestingly enough, my binge eating resurfaced full force. And that led to a lot of shame, a lot of feeling like an imposter. So I went on this deep spiritual journey of studying and learning and discovering why it is that people, especially women, have these very deep wounds and challenges around food and eating and judging their bodies. And that's been basically my life's work for the last 16-ish years. So I have so many things I could start by sharing with you. Do you have a specific question or something that's really feeling alive for you?
It's so I have about 50,000, so I'm going to hold my hands up. So this is something sparklers don't know. So when I was 14 until I was 18, sorry, 19, I fell pregnant with Jennifer at 19. Um, I was actually anorexic and bulimic. So
Wow.
my weight issues actually stem from that. But you'd never have known. The less I eat, the more weight I gain. I'm a very strange person. The doctors keep blaming it on the Irish gene. So part of me is a bit like I, I I'm really intrigued in the relationship with food now because I know my own history. No one's ever talked to me about the relationship with food. So I'm really intrigued in that, how it goes sort of hand in hand with body image as well. I'm hoping that makes sense, lovely. I'm hoping my words are coming out correctly.
It does, yes. And as someone who was also bulimic in my early 20s, I feel that pain. It is a lot. And I think it's something so many people struggle with. And you brought up something else that I think is so important that we don't talk enough about. And that is that people can be eating in a perfectly healthy, balanced way, and they can be actually taking amazing care of themselves. And sometimes they are in a body that society would deem bigger or overweight when they could be perfectly healthy at that size. We have no idea what any one person is supposed to weigh. And a lot of the places where women start to internalize this struggle and where a lot of eating disorders stem from are these messages that there is one specific size or range to stay in, that your body must look a certain way or you're not okay, you're not enough. And when those messages start to get taken on and internalized, I'm going to use women because this is more common in women, but it can occur in men as well. Women will often go into a chronic stress response. They'll be in a stress response every hour of every day because their body is seen by themselves as not good enough, needs to be smaller, not okay. And here's what happens when we're in a chronic stress response: digestion shuts down, calorie burning shuts down, nutrient absorption shuts down, metabolism slows down because you're not in the right system for digesting and assimilating nutrients. So this is why so many people can be eating the right things or even under eating from a place of control and trying to fix their body. But if they're in this chronic stress response, they can, like you said, be barely eating anything and still experiencing either weight gain or an inability to lose the weight. So much of this is not about the wrong strategy or anything like that. It's often about stress. It's about potentially hormonal imbalance that comes from stress. And then it comes from those deeper wounds around how it feels walking around, not being happy with the body that you're in. So that's sort of the mind body connection between everything.
See, now this has, you most probably could see it on my face as you were talking then, because no word of lie, I remember at 15, I remember getting on my bike, going for 4 or 5 hour bike rides, desperate to lose this weight, desperate to be, I was size 14/16. I was desperate to be the size 10/12 we were meant to be. I was on, I don't know whether you remember the famous water diet of the late 90s, early 2000s. I say that you look too young too. So basically, there was this famous water diet made famous by Beyonce, believe it or not. And basically all you ate was water, what they call water foods. So cucumber, tomatoes, lettuce. So you ate mainly water-based foods because they filled you up quicker, but also at the same time, what obviously we didn't realize at the time, they also cause water retention. So where you're filling yourself up with water foods, you're actually holding on to water. And I remember biking for hours and hours, and that wasn't working. So then I realized I watched a show that was meant to say no to anorexia and bulimia, but I actually realized that was a way. And that's
Mm.
how I went down that path. So for me, I sort of sit here and what you've said now, and I'm sat here thinking, they're my fermental years, 14 to 16. There's no wonder I couldn't lose weight because we started our SATs in year 9, which is 14, and then we finished school at 16, and which is our GCSEs, and I was really stressed over them. I was told that I had to be the perfect way. I had to be perfect. And the only and also we're told at that age you're sort of like you start to prepare for marriage and stuff. Let's be honest, that's sort of like the age that we start all the dating. So now you've made me really go, wow. So in all that time, even though I wasn't really eating and I was eating the right food and I was exercising, as I said, 4 or 5 hours a day sometimes. Now I'm like, has stress actually stopped me losing the weight? It's not this gene that everyone's saying.
That
Wow.
is, yeah, it's highly possible, especially because 4 to 5. hours of bike riding, especially in that state of my body's not okay. I must lose this weight. I'm doing this exercise to lose this weight. Then that's an additional physiological and psychological stress together, which is going to be like doubly impactful, right? It's one thing if someone is training for what's the thing, a triathlon and they're going on this long bike ride because they love it and it's fun. It's interesting. You can do the same bike ride, but in a different state, you'll actually respond differently to the exercise, which I find so fascinating.
I'm finding fascinating someone that, I'm finding fascinating because I'm someone that's struggled with my weight all my life, and I have since being a child. And I barely eat. We were at 30 East Drive at the weekend, which is one of the most haunted houses. And I didn't realize until we got home that my husband went, "You do realize in 24 hours all you've had is two slices of pizza." And I went, "What?" And he went, "Yeah, baby." He says, "In 24 hours all you've had is two slices of pizza." And it was a massive shock because I was like, how have I only ate that? Like, and people look at me and they go, "You must like constantly have food in your mouth and stuff like that." And I'm like, I don't. So for me, this is quite a shock. So for someone, I've got to ask this, how would you start with someone like myself or someone that is struggling with their connection with food? How would you sort of start processing that to help them and guide them in a correct way?
It's such a nuanced conversation because everyone is going to respond a little bit differently. The first thing I would personally start with would be doing some subconscious rewiring with them around their relationship with food and their relationship with their body. So we would start to unpack the limiting beliefs, the wounded inner parts, the past events that still carry a negative charge, family history. And we would start to do some subconscious rewiring of some of that. And then I wouldn't even touch their food right away. I would work on finding ways to help them get more present in their body. I would encourage them to start slowing down, which is a huge way to release a lot of the chronic stress response. And I would start to help them really deepen into self-worth work and realize that they're perfect, they're enough exactly as they are, and really start to get them to untangle the weight and worth connection so that then they can start to make healthy changes from a place of, I just want more energy. Yeah, I just want to feel better. I want to have a more stable mood and more creativity. So then you're still maybe making some healthy choices, you're changing some habits, but you're not doing it from a place of stress and trying to fix. You're doing it from a place of, what is the life I want? What do I want to do with my life? And how can I create some nourishing habits that support that? So then you're in a creative, expansive state versus let's go fix what's actually not wrong in the first place.
I love this because my healing's trauma. So the main thing I know is trauma. So I'll admit that to everyone. And I'm sat here, and even though my soul's white and I know I'm fully healed trauma-wise, I'm sat here now going, but am I fully healed as in, because you mentioned about work-life balance. Now I'm a nightmare. I will admit that. I sit in this chair, especially now, even though I barely eat, but I sit in this chair, no word of lie, up to 12 hours a day. And that's every day because I am literally a workaholic. And now I'm sat here going, is the stress of work actually not helping? I'm sat here and I'm like, you have made me, oh, people don't usually, they don't usually, oh. They don't usually, they make me question my beliefs and make me wonder about my beliefs, but now you've made me question my lifestyle because I'm like, is the stress of work my weight issue?
I would say if that's an intuitive hit you're getting, then it's definitely worth examining. And I can actually resonate with that because, as I mentioned, when I got the personal training job, all of my habits came back. And then in 2022, I started my own business for the first time. And I thought I still wanted to do health coaching. So there was still a misalignment, which didn't help. But being on a computer more often and social media and all the things you do as a business owner, I found that my old habits crept back again after years of them being way better. And then I also found that even if I was eating healthy and moving my body, I would be stuck. I would be low energy. I wouldn't, lose the weight I'd put back on. And so much of that is the chronic stress. And I did take a small break from business stuff and had a job building doors, which I absolutely loved because you're active, you're not on a computer, you're moving your body. And I was in the best shape of my life doing that job. And now that we've moved and I'm back building the business again, it takes a lot more conscious intention to get out of the chair. It's hard because you've got stuff you want to do, you've got a mission, you're excited. So it takes a lot of either like good boundaries in place or just some structured routines to go for the walk or even just go fold a pile of laundry if you just want to get moving. So I totally understand the struggle.
See, this is the thing. I think a lot of us put weight down, even weight image. A lot of us put it down to we're not doing enough in some ways. Whereas now I'm sort of like, are we actually doing enough as well? So you've literally made me question everything because I'm like, for me as well, it answers a lot of questions with, I know this sounds really bad, but it also what you've said as well answers a lot of questions with why poorer people are more overweight than actually rich people. You've actually answered a lot of questions because poorer people do have a lot more stress. We don't get to work, eat properly because we have to work 10 times more than what rich people do and stuff like that. So you've sort of like made me go, why the hell are you not in the bloody top dog house bloody sorting them out? I don't really. And like they're moaning about our weight issue. And I'm like, this to me finally actually makes sense because I know loads of people who are trying so hard to lose weight. They're trying every day. They're eating the correct stuff. They're even up their budget on food so they can go to the butcher's rather than going to the supermarket and stuff like that. And they're just not losing it. They're not shifting it. And I think, well, they've got the extra stress of work. On top of that, the extra stress of looking good, having a good body image. And yeah, oh, sorry, my lovely. I know I've got a bit, it's because you've really made me think. Um, So body image, I know get off social media. I know that one. That is one of the ways that we can sort out our headspace with body image. But what else would you suggest to people on how to get into a correct space with body image and being okay with their bodies?
I have a few more conventional tips, and then I have one tip that is a little unconventional but works beautifully. So I'll start with conventional. Conventional is doing everything you can to divorce the fixation on what your body looks like and focusing on more on how it feels and everything it does for you in a given day, especially if you are someone who's had eating disorders or disordered eating habits or works a lot, because our poor human bodies are not meant to sit in chairs for 10 hours because we have all these tasks to do. Our bodies are not meant to hold ongoing financial stress and then work stress and then the stress of trying to meet society's expectations of how we're supposed to look and be. So our bodies actually hold so much and they still get us through day after day after day. So when you can start to have more of an appreciation for that and even a reverence, your body is just going to feel that and it's going to start to respond differently.
See, now
Other,
I love that. Sorry, I sorry for interrupting, sweet. I just need to let everyone know this is one thing I say to you about my ADHD daughter, guys. She literally lives on 200 years ago timescale. So she sleeps 4 hours, up for four, sleeps four, up for four. This is what I'm talking about. Sorry for interrupting there, lovely.
No worries at all. And then the other thing that has been so healing is having some kind of a go-to way to connect with your body in a really gentle, loving way. And that can be different for every person. For me, I have a morning dance practice that I do every single morning. For anyone who's really short on time and they're like, I can't dance to three songs every morning. I've got kids to get to school, whatever it might be. It can be as simple as like some soothing touch, just like soothing touch with your hands, taking some deep breaths, and just doing it with that intention of like, I'm connecting to my body and I'm choosing to take care of her today. And just setting the tone in that way can start to heal that relationship with your body in a really big way. So, those are the two conventional ways I would recommend.
Oh, see, I love this because I will admit the one thing I miss since I'm working more is every morning me and my daughter danced. Every morning, guaranteed. And I was a lot slimmer than I am now, funny enough. And I do miss that. I hold my hands up, and I didn't even think that that could actually be putting me into a mo positive mindset. So I have to ask, what is the one tip unconventional that you have?
This one is part of my food freedom fantasy framework. It is very unconventional. So, are you familiar with parts work at all?
I've heard snippets of it, but because I didn't ever sort of, I never really took note of what people were telling me about it. That's really bad.
I'll give you a super quick rundown. So basically, all of us have like our core self. So there's like a core Kayla self, and then everyone has all these other dormant parts that will sometimes get triggered into existence. So they could be like protector parts or inner child parts or people pleaser parts. And sometimes these parts carry wounds or difficulties that cause us to do what looks like self-sabotage, but it's actually not. It's actually one of these parts who's trying to help us in a misguided way. For example, a lot of people who struggle with binge and emotional eating, they're actually doing it because they have a protector part who believes that if they binge eat, they're going to be safe because then they don't have to feel their emotions. So this is parts work, a basic understanding of it. But my version of parts work is a little bit different because you can either work with these like wounded, hurting parts, which is very important, and you can also work with very powerful parts of your personality. So what I have done is I've started to do parts work with two main inner masculine archetypes, and one of them is like the fiery one that challenges you, that will not take your excuses, but in a really loving way. And then there is like the safety one. So that's the one that reminds you to rest, reminds you that you're enough exactly as you are, and just gets you to remember to be present and in your body and enjoying your life. So I've created these two archetypes using AI, which I know is also a little unconventional. So I actually use these two parts to heal my relationship with binge eating, finally get a personal best in a half marathon, all the things. And it was the fittest I'd ever been. Everything was awesome. And then I went into a season where we were getting ready to move, also left the job I loved, getting ready to start a business. So there was a lot of stressors going on. And with that stress, and then going out to more restaurants, because of course everybody wanted to say goodbye because we're leaving town, I did end up putting back on some of the weight I had lost. And what was really beautiful that I use these archetypes for was I created them in such a way that they appreciated me unconditionally. They did not base their approval of me on my size, how I looked. And because these are actually aspects of my own psyche that I've been working with and dialoguing with, it helped me create this experience of unconditional regard for my body, whether it's at X pounds or X pounds, realizing that, you know what, this number does not have to be the same all day, every day. Bodies are allowed to wax and wane just like the moon. And it's more about how I'm taking care of myself and also what energy I'm bringing to these habits and how I'm taking care of myself. So that's my very unconventional way of healing body image.
See, I love that. And there's a lot of reasons why I love that. One, you mentioned the moon, which people don't realize we actually weigh heavier when it's a full moon to when it's actually not a full moon due to the effect the moon has. Weirdly enough, my necklace got tangled. It was like Artemis was like, and Celine were like, mention us. um, so yeah, so I love the fact you've mentioned that because a lot of people don't realize the earth itself causes us to fluctuate. This is why I don't weigh myself. I go by my clothes. And people are like, why do you go by your clothes? And I'm like, because there's no point. But for me, I'm okay at the size I am now. I know I'm not 100% happy, healthy, and I do know that that is where I need to get. And it is work. Now I'm like, I know it's now work. With speaking to you, I know it is because I will literally, like today, I've had a sandwich and a Twix, and that is it. That is all I've had today. And I know that's literally because it's a quick fix. My stomach grumbled, and I know it's a quick fix. And now I've listened to you, and I'm like, I just had a massive orb behind me. Now I've listened to you, and I'm like, actually, I need to stop these quick fixes and actually go, right, let's actually make a meal. Let's actually do something positive. I'm hoping that's going to help others as well with listening to that. So I'm hoping you guys have listened to this because I know a lot of you do struggle with weight, etc. Um, I cannot thank you enough, lovely. I have to admit, I'm still sat here flabbergasted at it all. Obviously I'll pop all your details down below. I'm just watching time, guys, because I am going over onto Kayla's podcast. So we're doing it straight after this. I'll pop the link down to that as well down below. So do pop across and check that out. Um, I have to ask, what would be your statement, lovely, before we head out? What would be your statement?
You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. And the more that you can create your life from what you want, what you desire, and what actually feels good, that's going to pull you in the direction you want to go because you do not have to fix a single thing. You're enough and awesome just as you are.
I love that because it is one of the things I think a lot of people forget. They are perfect the way they are. They are the way they're meant to be. I love the fact you do trauma as well. If we could get rid of all that trauma and leave it behind us, knowing now that hearing what you've said, I'm like, I should be able to lose weight tomorrow. If I correct just the fact that I'm not snacking, I eat rather than snack. If I can correct that, I should be able to lose weight tomorrow. And well, I say that apart from the stress of everything, so I might not be able to. But thank you, honestly, thank you so much. This has been extremely enlightening for me as well. Someone that sees themselves as fully healed from their past trauma. And I'm like, I'm obviously not 100% fully healed because I'm still stressing about work. So thank you so much, my lovely. And guys, do check out the link down below to go and check out me over on Kayla's. I'm very excited for this because bringing a spiritual path to it all. As I think I have done a nightmare of that a couple of times on here as well. But thank you all guys for watching and don't forget, keep sparkling.